Hey guys, it's Clarissa. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new, welcome. Today's video is going to be about the GMAT. If you are thinking about going to grad school, already know you want to go to grad school, are just wondering what the GMAT is all about, this video is going to be your starting point. Keep watching if you want a little bit more information. I always kind of had this idea that after I got my undergrad degree, I wanted to go to graduate school. I didn't know for what, I didn't know where, but I knew that sort of having a master's degree is going to put me at a place where I want to be once I get into the workforce. Kind of my senior year, the last 6 months or so I would say, is when I really decided what I wanted to do, that I definitely wanted to take my master's straight out of undergrad and that I wanted to pursue it for a specific degree. I started looking into the GMAT because I literally had no idea what it was. I knew it was going to be a long test that I had to take and that I had to most likely study for. But like I said, I literally had no idea. I didn't have any recent friends that had taken it or anything like that. I just kind of went on the internet and started getting information. Here are the basics of the GMAT. The GMAT is for business graduate degrees, so if you're going to be doing something in business, some business schools will take the GRE or the GMAT. That really depends on the program, so you have to look at that when you're kind of deciding which test you should take. And if you're not really considering a business degree, like I said, I would check with the program, but it's not likely that they're going to be taking the GMAT scores. You'd be taking the GRE, which I did not take, and you should find another video. I'm so sorry. But the GMAT is a 3-hour and 7 minutes exam, and it has 4 sections. It has analytical writing, quantitative, integrated reasoning, and verbal. Each of these sections is very different, and the way you prepare for them is all different as well. What is actually your GMAT score, which is the score that's going to be sent to colleges, is going to be the quantitative and the verbal sections. One of the best resources I think is actually MBA.com, which is the official site for the GMAT. One thing that a lot of people don't know until after they actually start their studying and doing all this kind of stuff is when you make an MBA.com account and register for one of their accounts, you get 2 free GMAT tests. So that is 2 full-length practice tests that you can do before you actually go in and sit down for the GMAT. What they say a lot is none of this information that you're being tested on is necessarily new. It's all relatively stuff that you've learned probably before even college, probably maybe even before high school, but it's the way of thinking and the way that you have to process this information, and you have to go through sort of that more analytical thinking of how to apply things and how to read through questions and the way to answer things. Pretty basic math that you would have learned way earlier in life, but the way that the questions are worded is not something that you would just know off the bat how exactly to analyze or answer if you had not studied for the exam. Study, study, study. Everyone studies differently. Some people study better by reading a lot, some people study better by doing problems on hand. Whatever it may be, just make sure that you know what kind of learner you normally are, and you make sure you give yourself enough time to go through these questions and go through the length of the exam at least one time before you go in and take it, so that you can kind of be ready for when you sit down for 3 hours and 7 minutes to take this super long test. I heard that my university was having an info session about the GMAT, and it was really cool because I got to go to that, and they did like a really quick overview of like, okay, this is a sample of a question, this is how you answer it, and they did that for each kind of questions that there are on the GMAT. Integrated reasoning has 4 different question types. There is multi-source reasoning, graphics interpretation, 2-part analysis, and table analysis. Make sure you go through practice questions. Make sure you utilize MBA.com and use their free questions and use their free exams. Quantitative section has 2 types of questions: data sufficiency and problem solving. Verbal section has 3 kinds of questions: reading comprehension, critical reasoning, and sentence correction. So one of the best tips that I always tell people when they ask me about taking the GMAT, that I'm pretty sure I got from some of the tips on the GMAT's website or something like that, is that when they give you those 2 free full-length full-length practice tests, use that first test as kind of a diagnostic test. Do that test before you've done any of your studying. When you just decided to sign up for the GMAT, you've made an MBA.com account, and you have that first test. Just make sure you're actually taking it. Get yourself in an environment where you'd actually be taking a test where there's no distractions and you're not gonna walk away from it after an hour and a half, and you're really gonna sit down for those 3 hours, and I would allocate even more than that. But that you're gonna sit down for this time and take the test like you would if it was test day. Once you take it that first time, that can really be a diagnostic test, and that'll really help you to determine what it is that you need to be studying the most, and then you can focus on that and maybe even buy some supplemental materials from wherever it is that you want to buy supplemental materials from and do your studying that way. Then it kind of gives you a gauge on so you know where is going to be the most important place to spend your time studying. You have to make sure you give yourself ample time. I took it twice. So the first time I took the GMAT, I did not give myself enough time to study. It was because I was very rushed and I wanted to just make sure that I was taking it in enough time that if I did need to take it again, I would then have enough time to study before I needed to submit my scores for grad school. So that first time I did not study enough. I did my first diagnostic test and I bought some of the materials from MBA.com that are actually very helpful, but I didn't use them the way I should have. I didn't get through all the problems. I worked through a few of the problems in the book, but not really that much. So it really didn't help me the way I needed to, and then when I got to the test, I did better than I thought I was gonna do, but I did average. I didn't do an exceptional score. I didn't do a score that I would be proud of to send to master's programs, and I knew that if I studied and I really put time into devoting to studying for the GMAT that I could do a lot better. So that's what I did the second time. I made sure that I took the time. For me, that was taking out small bits of time each day to study. So I would tell myself I'm gonna study for an hour in the morning before I go to class, and I'm gonna study 3 hours this weekend. But it wouldn't be huge chunks of time because sitting down for me and reading through these tough questions that really rattle your brain was just exhausting for me. And when I tried doing that the first time, it just didn't go well because I would give up and then I would get distracted and do other stuff, and then like the studying just never got done because I didn't want to go back to it. So when I was doing it, I would just wake up and I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna do it for an hour. But an hour really meant, okay, I wanna get through 50 problems this morning, or okay, I wanna get through 10 problems this morning. So I did that in the morning and at night, and that's just kind of how I studied. But whatever it is, whatever your preference is, and however you study the best. Books that I used to study for the bulk of my studying was the official GMAT books. I actually got them on Amazon. I got all 3 of them for, I want to say, around $30, and I made sure I got the current year's edition because it's going to have the most up-to-date, obviously. That was the very first thing that I even purchased when I started thinking about the GMAT. I think I got it before I even signed up for MBA.com, so before I even got my free diagnostic tests, I went ahead and did that and ordered those books. And those books are really helpful because not only are there like practice problems, but there's also like teaching sections in it. So before you even get into any of the problems, it sort of goes through the basics. For example, the math section, it'll tell you like all the kinds of problems that will be found in the math section and sort of the way that you would answer them and sort of all the algebra and types of math that would be included in it. That was really helpful for me because if I was going through the practice problems or I was going through a practice exam and I saw a type of question that I consistently kept getting wrong, I would make a point to go back and note what kind of question it was, and I would find that example in the section and I would make sure I taught myself whatever it was so I wouldn't keep getting that wrong. It's definitely a very weird format and not something that most people traditionally, and not necessarily the traditional kind of test that you had taken in college and classes and whatnot. It's definitely not a lot of memorization. It definitely requires you to do a little bit more of analytical, deep thinking. So don't let it freak you out. Just make sure you practice as many questions as you can, because once you're used to the question format, it makes the exam so much less intimidating. Utilize online resources, utilize the free materials that MBA.com gives you, utilize different forums and people asking questions. I know I did a ton of research when I was studying for the GMAT. I didn't really look into any outside tutoring and stuff. I know there's a lot of different outlets that you can get outside tutoring and buy packages that'll help you do better on the exam and whatnot. I was just kind of rushed, and once I got that second score, I was kind of very happy with that, and I was also very rushed because I did wait so long to take the exam, so I didn't have time to study again. But I definitely think if you are thinking about it, go ahead and take it early, see how you do. It is an expensive test, so keep that in mind. The exam is $250, so you want to make sure that if you're going in to take this exam, that you fully are committed to going to take it and that you are ready, because preferably you don't want to have to take it a second time like I did, because that is $500. Look and see if your school possibly has any courses you can take or has any informational sessions, especially if they have a specific master's program that requires the GMAT that you're interested in. Utilize online. Search the GMAT's website, MBA.com, look at forums, look at YouTube videos like this one. This is just kind of a very beginning video to be like, okay, I'm considering the GMAT, now what? If you guys have any questions for me about school, about taking the GMAT, about where to find more information, feel free to comment, or you can email me. I'm gonna go ahead and put my email link right here, and it'll also be in the description. If you liked this video and you found it helpful, make sure you give it a thumbs up, comment some nice things, and make sure you subscribe and check back for new videos every week.